Hello, everybody. This is Mike from the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. My wife Beth and I would like to invite you to join us each week as we examine life at the intersection of marriage, family, careers, and ministry. Through 28 years of ministry, 26 years of marriage, 23 years of professional careers, and 21 years of being parents to 3 kids, our fun and honest discussions promise to have something for everyone. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
And it's a miracle Beth is here today.
It is.
And I say a miracle because I am so rigid in when I think this podcast should be recorded.
Yes.
Because it comes out every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. It has for 64 straight episodes.
That's happened.
Except this week.
Well, and here's the thing. When we started this, I didn't know we were going to be on a rigid schedule. I mean, schedules kind of stress me out. That's why, I'm always late for church. And, one thing that did come up, totally an aside here, but we talked about one time Jacob had a teacher, and she always asked me about being the first lady and sit at church and said her first lady had a reserved parking space right at the front, like a place of honor. So I had shared that at our church. They did it for me one time, but that would really help me if I had that to roll into. So I think then instead of walking into church 3 minutes late, or no, maybe more like 5 minutes late, then I'd only be a minute late.
No, you'd be 4 minutes late.
Well, still, I'm just saying that would be helpful. But we know this about me. So the whole idea that for 64 weeks or whatever you think that I would be able to do this on that rigid time schedule is just boom, blowing my mind.
Well, I tried to show you a lot of grace this week.
Yeah.
You had a rough week.
I had a very bad week.
And so,
yeah.
And you were busy.
Yeah.
And so we usually like to record the podcast on Thursdays and Fridays.
Yeah.
Thursday, you worked all day. I was busy all day. That night, you went out with a friend for dinner. You were out late, so we pushed it to Friday.
By the way, I would like to, let's see, I came home at 9:15, but for us, that's late.
Well, too late for you to do a podcast.
I know, but I just want to clarify. That makes it, just for young listeners, they may be like, whoa, Beth was out till 3 in the morning and partying or something. No, I was at Cagney's, and we'd asked what time they closed.
What is Cagney's, a club?
Oh, yes, where you wear sequins and, gyrate to the music. No, Cagney's is a diner, coffee. They serve breakfast all day, but also pintos
we know
and
what
stuff.
Is.
Yeah, anyway.
Breakfast and pintos. That is a ringing endorsement for Cagney's restaurant.
Well, instead of being British, they do those beans and eggs or whatever, this is anyway. But so we were at Cagney's and at 8:30, they started cleaning up everything. And then at 8:40, they're kind of can you close out your, pay? And I was like, wow, we're closing down the restaurant. But anyway, but that was for me to go meet somebody for dinner and work.
Well, you didn't meet them that late. You met them at 6 and you stayed there for 3 hours.
Because the last time I saw this friend and talked to her at length was what? Thanksgiving last year or something?
We just had dinner with her and her husband this summer.
Well, that doesn't count because we were all together and so other people were hogging the conversation. So she and I didn't get to talk at length. So we had a lot to catch up
So
on.
Anyway, we couldn't do it Thursday.
Yeah.
Friday, you kept putting me off. I said, Beth, we need to do the podcast. You're like, all right, I think I'm going to have a window between now and now.
But I just had everything blow up and go wrong.
And then when we got to that window was shut.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting and finally, I kept telling you all week, I can do it by myself.
Right.
And I can do one by myself.
Yeah.
If I have time to think through what I want to talk about. Because I mean it. Most of what we talk about is very spontaneous, which is what I think makes this podcast work, is you're getting real reactions.
And it's easier to be spontaneous when you have it with another person. You can't really be spontaneous with yourself.
No, there's a lot of, what am I thinking of? What should I talk about?
Unless you have multiple personalities. Then
I
you
would have made notes.
React.
So I kept waiting. And finally, at 2:40 yesterday afternoon, you said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do it. Just do one by yourself.
Yeah.
So that left me 35 minutes to put together a podcast and do one before I had to go get Josh.
Right.
And after I got Josh, I had to bring him home immediately, go pick up a friend of his, and the three of us went on an adventure, which I'll get to in a second. So that's why we couldn't do the podcast last night. So anyway, I recorded a 30 to 35 minute podcast.
Right.
It was a hot garbage. It was
Should you
just
put it out and get people to rate it?
rambling.
Be like, what do you think of this?
I mean, it was not good.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I can't, I was going to put it out if I had to. I have it set up to go out. I just never hit publish.
Right.
And so this morning I got up and I let you sleep in as much as I could. I try not to wake you up. I let you sleep in, get your beauty sleep. And then I said, all right, if you want to redo the podcast and you can be a part of it, we'll do it this morning. So this podcast is going out probably about 4 hours later than when I normally put it out. And
it's a historic moment, folks.
Part of me is dying inside.
Well, what I want to know is, and I really want to know this from our listeners, I want to know if once this comes out late, if the world will keep spinning. Like, will it stop? Is this going to be what causes it to just stop spinning on its axis?
See, I like to think, you and I were kids in the 70s.
Yeah.
We grew up with Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
We would get up at the crack of dawn.
And run in there to see Wonder Woman.
Sit down and watch all kinds of Saturday morning cartoons.
Bugs Bunny or
what?
Yeah,
Smurfs, the
Smurfs,
whatever was
Smurfs,
on.
Yes.
I like to think our podcast is the modern day Saturday morning cartoons.
Aww,
that people wake up and at 8 o'clock in the morning.
They're running in their PJs.
Yeah.
Their little feet.
Or 5 o'clock if you're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But, you wake up and you turn it on and you listen, and it's the good way to start your Saturday. That's what I like to think people do.
Oh, I'm sure that's what it is for maybe one person in America, maybe, or wherever in the world. I don't know, maybe.
And we're going to get to the world later. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
We have some pretty cool things that are happening worldwide. I think way back in the day, I had a couple people said I look like Pitbull.
Yeah.
The rapper.
Yeah.
His nickname is Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
I feel like with the news I'm going to share in just a little bit, you can call me Mr. Worldwide.
You're the Pitbull of podcast is what you're going to
tell us. Not only am I the Seinfeld of podcast, I am the Pitbull of podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
And you look the part in addition. So this makes it, this is even more fitting.
Yeah.
The Pitbull. Two other things. I don't remember we talked about this last time, but some of your titles have led people to think all kinds of crazy things are happening. So, like on the podcast, like people only read the title and then they misinterpret like what's happening and will message us.
Well, I mean, that's called baiting.
Yeah.
I've learned that.
Yeah, you're really good at that.
Yeah.
The other thing,
clickbait.
The other thing I have to make a comment about like delaying things. Like right now, I'm sitting not in our normal space that we do this. We're sitting at our dining room table, and it's covered in. I think I bought it for 50 cents. A poinsettia tablecloth, plastic one that we put down for crafts. There is a animatronic thing that used to be a horse, but I think may end up looking kind of like a platypus. There's a large piece of. There's been a large piece of furry brown fabric that I literally thought was a fake fur coat laying on the table. There was this other critter with his little legs hanging over the side of the thing. It looks kind of like it would have been a frog who's sitting up like a Kermit the Frog, but with antenna eyes and a frowning mouth.
Then why don't you clean up your mess, Beth?
Oh, yeah. There's sheets of stuff that Maria used to make liquid latex. So I just have to say, there's a hair dryer.
Basically, our dining room and our kitchen table have become a special effects studio.
Yes, and it is. So we have these two different animatronics that Maria purchased. One that sang "Happy Birthday" and was a rabbit, an elephant, and then this other one that was a horse that are now being transformed into space creatures. But they have, she took all the outside off of them and put clay. So had to get that moldable clay and let it dry. And then has had to do, which I never knew was a thing, she's had to create liquid latex, which she puts on this kind of box lid with aluminum foil or parchment paper lining it, and like moves it back and forth until it becomes a strip of latex. And then she's going to have to paint these things. She also has the hilt of a lightsaber that she made out of foam. And I'm not just saying this because she's our kid. Like,
I thought she bought it.
it is so intricate. Like, there are carvings of
She carved all this stuff in it. It's pretty
it's
amazing.
really impressive. I can't say yet if these other things are going to be impressive because they're midway through. But in our defense, too, our house has looked like this now for the last almost probably 5 days or
Well,
something.
I've been asking her, when is this project going to be done? And she told me it would all be done by Sunday night.
Right.
So I'm fully expecting on Monday morning our house to be back to normal.
Yeah, you live in a dream world.
I do.
You
I
do.
do.
But I do think, as crazy as it sounds, it's pretty interesting for the person who has no artistic skills like me and would have no insight into how this works, because she's doing things and I'm like, what are you
She
doing?
was asking my advice yesterday on something. And I was like, Maria, I don't even live on this planet. I'm not even in this universe.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how my brain operates. I can't see this creative visual art stuff like you see.
Yeah, like you can't see like that horse was going to become a platypus or whatever it is, or and not that they're real, they're her space creatures, but anyway, yeah, it's a little crazy, it's a little different, yeah. But that's our environment. If people want to visualize what's happening, since we don't have like something videoing us to show me rolling my eyes at you or whatever, like that's what we're surrounded by.
Chaos.
Yeah.
That's our life.
Yeah.
Last night I was surrounded by chaos.
Yes. Why don't you tell us
Psychotic chaos.
Oh, but this helped me to go.
I don't even think I can count this.
I think you can, because this is so outside the what you would normally do. You know what I mean? This is so outside of a normal concert you would go to. So I think it has to count. You need to get credit for this.
All right. So we'll rewind about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Josh messages us one day. He's at school. I don't know why he's on his phone looking at this, but there's a rap artist he likes. I would call him an indie underground rap artist just because he's not mainstream.
We'd never heard of him.
He has, I don't know, millions of streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
His name is OsamaSon.
OsamaSon. So we always because it's got so many, like syllables. I'm like, Osama bin Laden, or Osama what, or Sama, or, Marsala, Tiki Marsala. I mean, I don't know. It's like, because it's just such a strange name.
Yeah. And that's not even his real name. I mean, that's his stage name.
Yeah.
OsamaSon.
Uh-huh.
And so Josh was like, can I please go to this OsamaSon concert? So, all right, where is it? When is it? How much is it? He was playing at a concert venue in Raleigh, North Carolina, called the Ritz.
Before we go to that, though, we also always try to then ask Jacob, like, should we let Josh go to this? And Jacob's answer is always no, either because he's like, oh, it may have inappropriate lyrics, or they're just terrible. And not good. Like, I don't think they're good. But anyway, Jacob's always like, no, you shouldn't let him go. So poor Josh is like, oh.
Yeah, like Jacob is the barrier of good judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
The bearer of good judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so anyway.
We decided against everybody's better judgment that Josh could go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So $40, $45.
Probably because you really wanted to check this off your list of your Big 12, really.
It wasn't even on my 12 at that point.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, $45. It's in Raleigh, hour and a half away.
Yeah.
It's a Friday night. Sure.
Yeah.
And so Josh and his friend wanted to go, and I agreed to take them. You volunteered, but I didn't know how safe the environment was going to be.
Yeah, because I've historically taken.
But you took Maria to some of these
the Wallows
teeny bopper
and
shows.
The Regrets and some of these shows that where you kind of, I think probably akin to what this one was, where we would literally, for the Wallows with Maria, we drove down to Columbia, South Carolina, and got a hotel so that we could get up and be in line by 8 a.m. for a concert that started at 8 at night. So, had to take a lawn chair and a blanket and sit there, because these are not concert venues that have seats. It's standing.
It's standing,
primarily.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you love your kids more than I do.
Yeah.
We got there 10 minutes before doors open. But we planned on getting there a tiny bit earlier, but not much. But because Josh, I was like, I'm not getting out of school for this. And it's only an hour and a half away. So once we picked up his buddy and we started down, Raleigh's an hour and a half. With the Friday night traffic, wrecks. There was also, I've realized as I got closer, a home Hurricanes game.
Oh, no.
And it took us 2.5 hours. It took us an hour longer to get to the Ritz.
Right. Which sounds really classy.
Yeah. You know.
I'm envisioning like chandeliers in there.
It was on Industrial Drive, if that tells you anything.
Well, yeah, just where all the Ritzes would be expected to be.
I will say the venue itself was nice. Like it wasn't, I mean, it's not Tanger Center.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been to the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh. I've been to the Fillmore in Charlotte. I've been to the Orange Peel in Asheville. And they're all the same type venues.
Yeah.
Standing room only.
Yeah.
You know.
Are they like the concrete floor too? So as you stand, your back is killing you, especially after you've been in line forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So we finally get down there. I had looked this place up online to see what the capacity was, and it said 1,400. We got that. I didn't. I was like, Josh was like, I think this show is sold out. I'm like, who is coming to see OsamaSon? Like,
yeah, because you all along, you were like, we're going to be there and there'll be like 10 people or something.
And I kept asking Josh, like, what's the age of the people? Like, what's the demographic? Like, white, black, old, young, like what? Give me some demographics.
Yeah, like who's listening to OsamaSon?
And Josh was like,
14, or like you 15-year-old.
Yeah,
boys
Josh said he thought the average age would probably be 19. You know, he said probably 15 to 22 range.
So he's right in there.
Yeah. So, and I would say he nailed it. Looking at the crowd, I would say 18 was probably a pretty good guess. 18, 19 was the average age. Demographic wise, he told me it would be very mixed, and it was. I would probably say, you know, and I grew up in like 80s rap, right? I mean, so we grew up with like NWA or even like as you get into the 90s with like Tupac and Snoop Dogg. I mean, they definitely had a type of genre with the gangster rap and a following that wasn't upper class white kids, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Half this crowd was upper class white kids,
which is not what you would necessarily
not at
expect.
all.
Yeah.
The other half was a mixture of African American kids, Hispanic kids, Asian kids. The guys far outnumbered the girls, but
so he's not appealing to the female demographic.
I mean, there was some girl, but
it's kind of like probably if not that I've gone to a Clairo concert, but for example, or even Taylor, our girl Taylor. The girls are way outweighing the guys.
Yeah.
And so this one is more, he's much more appealing to the guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to the venue, we park. Parking's super easy. I mean, it's boom, we're there.
Which is nice.
Yeah. And it's literally, we just walked right across the street. There was a line of people out front of the building. I'm like, okay, well, there's a few hundred people here. No. That line went from the front of the building all the way down the side of the building and then zigzagged through this back parking lot. If this establishment held 1,400 people, there was 1,000 people in line in front of us.
Is it kind of like the line was for Pearl Jam that time you went and I didn't go, but you know, it snaked around. So it was very deceptive. You couldn't tell where you were and how long.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
And so we get there in line at 10 till 7.
Right. Concert's supposed to start at They
advertise the event starts at 7.
Okay.
So I'm like, why are all these people standing out here?
At 10 till 7.
Well, no. Doors opened at 7. That is not what they advertised. They just advertised the event starts at 7, which is fine.
To interject, but that's like when Maria and I, we went to see Wicked at the baseball stadium. they advertised doors open at 5:30, event starts at 6 because you're going to go through security and everything. So I feel where you're going with this. But yeah. So you're expecting,
So we're in line. 7 o'clock, the line starts moving.
Yeah. You're like, yes.
The first few hundred people start to move.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a line behind us now at this point. Like in that 10 or 15 minutes after we got there was probably another at least 100 people that showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So where we're in line, within 10 minutes, there's 100 people behind us. This should have been, I guess, a glimpse into what the night was going to entail.
Mm-hmm.
The doors open, the crowd starts moving. They're on kind of the opposite side of the driveway from us.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the 100 people behind us are like, screw it. They rush to the other side of the park and other side of the driveway.
Oh, and like front everybody?
And just front everybody.
I'm surprised you didn't already have people punching people.
I thought, and I know the boys were like, let's go. And I'm like, hold up.
No.
Somebody about to get shot.
Yeah, they're going to get in a fight because people do not, even at Disney, people get in fist fights over fronting people with these long lines,
Well, when that started, the floodgates opened.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who was in line, who had been standing in line for God only knows how long in that parking lot, started rushing toward that mob of people.
By the way, do you think this could be partially the difference in a crowd of girls versus boys? Because even also at the Wallows, I feel like we had waited in line, 10 hours or something? I feel like people were very orderly. All these young girls,
no
these
order here.
15-year-old girls, they're just going in,
Yeah, no order here.
Yeah.
They all rushed. And when, surprisingly, there was not one fight. There was not one yelling. There was no, It was, okay. So
they don't know line etiquette. They don't know how to wait their turn, but they're very calm and courteous even when somebody doesn't.
So the boys, I was like, let's go. So we joined and we ran down there and fronted probably 500 people.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Which, again, goes against kind of my ethical
everything
code.
You're supposed to be doing, especially for these people that have waited so long.
I know, but it's like when anarchy strikes, you got to fight for yourself.
Yes,
It was like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I was Rick Grimes. Let's go. We're getting out in front of these walkers.
Yes.
So we get in line and we go through the line, we get inside. And I'm looking at this place on the inside, and I'm like, there is no way this place holds 1,400 people.
Yeah.
Like, you could, once everyone was in there, you couldn't put a piece of paper between anybody.
Yes.
Like, everybody was shoulder to shoulder, belly to back.
And when Maria went to the Wallows, did they have one little place that was supposedly taped off where people could walk through?
No.
Or something? They didn't have any?
No.
Because they did that at
There's
the
no
Wallows.
walkthrough.
We went, because Maria and I ended up, she enjoyed the South Carolina one so much, spontaneously getting last minute tickets and doing the Charlotte one. This is like 4 years ago or something. But in both of those venues, they had like the ground marked off. So, and they were rigid, like you could not be standing outside of that. So like everybody, if Maria would have been standing there and had to go to the bathroom, I would have had to like spread my legs out, my arms out, and just stand there, to try to block people from getting the space. But people then would just come cram in, and you're just sitting there and you're like, I don't know if I can breathe. Like, I mean, there was a point we had to move further back because we felt so claustrophobic with the people crammed around us. It was so tight. Is that the way this was?
Oh, absolutely. You could not move.
Yeah.
And so, of course, everybody's coming in the front door and they're stopping right there on what would be the right side of the stage.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the stage right. They're stopping there. And I got the boys. I said, come on, we're going to go around the other side because people aren't going over there.
Yeah.
So I was able to get them fairly close to the left side of the stage.
Were they impressed with your knowledge of being able to do
I don't
this?
know if they even noticed, but I was like, just come on, let me get you through here.
Yeah.
So, so I got them through. By this point, it's 7:20 maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we're standing there a little bit, and I'm like, I told the boys, I was like, look, I'm going to go find some place and just hang out.
Yep.
Like, I don't need to be here with y'all. Y'all be safe.
Yeah.
Text me or call me. And I'll say hang out like in the building.
Of
like,
course, yeah, but
in
you're
the
not
room.
you're not gonna be trying to be front by the stage. You're more
No.
like, I'm gonna go back where I can lean against a wall in the very back of this building kind of thing. Yeah. Or someplace where there will be airflow, where I'm not like crunched in between all these people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm up. The Ritz is made in a way that they have seating in this balcony.
Oh, you're so lucky because the ones I went to never had seating.
One row, just seats going around the perimeter, and that's it, around three sides, and that was it. And then you could stand up there behind the seats if you wanted to. And so I went and talked to a security guard, and I was like, what's these seats about? And he was telling me about them, and I was like, all right, I'm going to walk up there and take a look. So I went up there and got a seat and just sat. And and it had a great view. I was sitting on the opposite side of the boys, which I really didn't like, but I could still kind of see them in the crowd. I tried to keep an eye on them. So the show was supposed to start, I found out now, at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, OsamaSon is supposed to come out. Well, at 8 o'clock, lights go they start having some lights.
Excited,
They start playing some music. I don't know. I would just call it like hype music, and everyone is going crazy. Like these kids, and I say kids because they're all, I would say
young
the
adult
average
kids.
age is 19 or 20, maybe younger. I mean, they look like high school seniors. I didn't see a lot of folks that look like they were college age, but they're creating mosh pits, like banging into each other, like crowd surfing.
And that's when you texted the family chat and you're like, there's a mosh pit and somebody's crowd surfing. And Jacob was like, Josh will be next. And we were like, let's hope not.
I just kept watching the boys. I was like, what is going on? And so the biggest mosh pit kept breaking out right below me. So I had just a bird's eye view of this mosh pit. And it was the same 5 or 6 guys. And two of the guys, the same 5 or 6 guys that was starting, multiple people would get in until they get knocked down and knocked out. 2 kids came with referee jerseys on and whistles. And they would back everybody up so these kids could all mosh. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
They were the most prepared people you've ever seen for this.
And again, these are all upper-class white kids. Right?
Yes.
And there was a couple of times people were moshing and they dropped their phone. They didn't even realize they lost their phone. The kid with the whistle would blow the whistle, hold his hand up like he was a real referee. Everybody would stop. He would hold the phone up and hold it around until the owner saw it and they would come pick it up.
This is the most organized chaos and mosh pit I've ever heard. Was it this way at Pearl Jam, Mike? Did you have a referee blowing a whistle?
It was nuts. So this went on 8 to 8:05. 8:05 to 8:10. 8:10 to 8:15. Every 5 minutes, it was a new song. Every 5 minutes, everybody went crazy because they thought OsamaSon's about to come out. About 8:30, a lady gets up and she says, I need everybody's attention. She was like, y'all need to back up. She said, the people up here at the front
are getting squished.
She was like, we're not starting this concert until everybody backs up. And so everybody's like, booing her, and some of them are kind of taking a step back, but she keeps on, and they're booing her and giving her the middle finger and whatnot. And so she leaves. They start the music again. Everybody rushes to front again. She comes out again about 10 till and was like, y'all need to back it up.
And you're saying 10 till 9.
10 till 9.
Almost an hour after
this concert was supposed to have started at 8. So they've been playing hype music for an hour. And then yelling at the kids because the kids are too rowdy.
Right. Yeah. And you're kind of like, have you ever, as people who worked in youth ministry for years, this is sort of the opposite. I mean, if anything, you need to be playing chill music until he comes out.
So 9 o'clock, finally, the lights go down, stuff starts happening, and the stage had a giant cage, and the concert starts, and OsamaSon's on top of the cage. There's so much crazy lighting and smoke, you can't even see him.
So he's on the cage, but you can barely
He's on
tell
top
he
of the
is.
cage. I'm not even sure he's even performing.
Right.
I don't even know if it's even him.
Right.
It could have been some stand-in for all I know. Because they're playing tracks over him,
Yeah.
and all he's doing is yelling, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what is this? And everybody's going crazy.
This is when I know I could have been a performer because I can yell, yeah, 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 and stand on top of a cage.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm like, and it was so loud. And I've been to hundreds of concerts. I did something last night I've never done before in my entire life.
Did you put in earplugs?
I went downstairs and went to a table that was designed for old people and got earplugs. They were giving out earplugs. And I got those orange rubber earplugs that you sleep in.
Twist around
Yes.
and you shove in your ear so it dulls everything. And
Yes. So I go back up. I sit back down in my seat. And I'm sitting there surfing my
like
phone
a
on.
90-year-old man.
I'm looking at Facebook.
I sent you an email to read.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm like, gosh, I am this old guy.
Yeah.
But I'm not his demographic.
You're not. This is shocking. You weren't down there
Oh,
refereeing the mosh pit.
I left out one part of the hype thing. The hour-long hype party where kids are just getting out of control.
Yeah.
They're taking off their clothes.
Oh, okay. So this
the
is also a
guys,
strip
they're all
tease.
guys.
Okay.
They're getting so hot. They're just taking their shirts off, swinging it around their head like Muscle Man in regular show, and just throwing it into the crowd.
Gross.
So
Like,
there's
I want
all
some
these
weird dude
shirts
shirt.
and jackets and sweatshirts being thrown around like a beach ball. It's crazy. And one of the guys had his nose busted in the mosh pit. He had blood on his shirt. He pulled it off, kind of wiped the blood off of him best he could, and just threw that into the crowd.
So we don't think time out. So if you're wrestling and stuff and there's a little blood at school or whatever, we got to clean that stuff off because we do not want random people's blood being thrown around. But here let's just be all the bloodborne pathogens and stuff. Let's just be exposed to them.
And in this entire venue, while all this is going on, they had more bartenders than security.
What?
They had like 4 bartenders at these 2 separate bars, and 3 security guards up front.
Oh boy!
That was it. And they were between the barricade and the stage.
And they're also trying to keep the squished people from.
Nobody is monitoring the crowd.
Yeah.
Not one person went and was like.
Well, except for the guys, the 2
the referees, but they were
the referees with their
inciting
whistles.
the crowd.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, back to the concert. Concert's been going on for about 30 minutes. Let's see, started at 9, about 9:30. I'm looking at my phone and I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Not because of the earplugs, because it's just chaotic.
Loud. Yeah.
Kids are screaming, loud music.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I start hearing this like chain of profanities coming out of this guy's mouth.
Yeah. And you're like, is this the song?
Yeah. F you, like all this stuff. And I'm like,
isn't this creative liberty?
calling
with,
people a
bad
B,
words?
calling people an N. I mean, just letting it fly. And I'm like, well, this is an odd way to start a song.
Yeah.
That's literally what I was thinking.
Yes.
And I didn't.
And you were like, I don't know if I had that warning about the explicit lyrics, you know.
15 minutes goes by. The concert just stops. Music just stops. Lights come on. Concert's over.
Oh my gosh.
He played for 45 minutes, 9 to 9:45. He came on an hour late.
Yeah.
He performed for 45 minutes and left. I had looked online and it said that he was supposed to come on at 8 and the concert was supposed to have lasted till 10:30.
Whoa. 2.5 hours.
He took a 2.5 hour
minutes.
show and I went and looked at his other concerts.
Yeah.
And he does about 22 or 23 songs.
Yeah.
Josh said he probably played 7 last night in that 45-minute period.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they're saying heck.
yeah. And I mean, the adults who are up with me, they're irate because some of them are actually fans and they were like, what in the world? I mean, they're mad.
And people may have done what you did too and driven a long way.
So I make my way. Josh texts me. I'm like, look, it's chaos. Just meet me at the car.
Yeah.
So I make my way downstairs and I see a staff member of the Ritz. And I stop her and I'm like, was this concert not supposed to go longer? And she was like, he stopped it because people kept throwing stuff at him. And I was like, they were throwing stuff at him. I couldn't see because the smoke was so from the fog machines and from the marijuana. But the fog machines primarily was so thick you couldn't even see the state. And I was like, they were throwing stuff. She was like, yeah. They were throwing stuff at him. And he just said, forget it, and just walked off. Like, she was like, they ain't got to put up with that. And so I got out in the car, and then Josh and his friend showed up. So I said, man, this is what this lady just told me. And Josh was like, oh, yeah, we could see people throwing stuff. And he was like, that's why he was cussing everybody out. And I was like, oh. And Josh said,
like, oh, that wasn't the song? Okay.
Josh said people were throwing stuff at him. And he was like pointing at people in the crowd, like cussing them out. Like
specific
F you,
people.
B, F you, F you.
Yeah.
And people were like throwing stuff. I mean, I don't know what they were throwing.
But also, what does that get you? Why are you throwing? I guess I don't understand the mob mentality of 18-year-olds, but like, what possesses you to be like, let's throw a lot of things at this performer that we supposedly like and want to see?
Well, I've given this a lot of thought. Fortunately, there was no traffic coming home. So we got home in an hour and a half, which we should have gotten there. But I thought about it as both boys slept.
Of course, yeah.
Here's who I blame.
Him?
First of all, I blame the Ritz.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Because they didn't have enough, like...
Well, let's start in the parking lot.
Regulating,
They had people out in the parking lot. They made every single person that came, if you were under 21, get an X on your hand.
Yeah.
If you were over 21, you had to get an armband. Every single person. So the Ritz had... I don't know, a half dozen people out there doing this.
Right.
Those people should have been monitoring that line.
Yeah.
Because that's what started a lot of this mob mentality.
It kind of like,
is when all these people rushed the line. When everyone rushed the line, you know what they did? Then they started walking up and down still. Does everybody have an X? Show me your hand.
Not like, let's get back in line, or we're going to put you in the very back.
So the Ritz employees did not do what I think they should have done.
Right.
They did not control the crowd.
Right.
And the crowd wasn't unruly outside.
Because then it's like a domino.
It got unruly when
domino.
everyone rushed the entrance.
Right.
But I think if you'd have had those 6 or 7 employees
like,
standing there in a line, nobody would have done that. Nobody would have even tried that.
Yeah.
You get inside, you get settled, so be it. At 8 o'clock, the announcement should have been made by the Ritz or by OsamaSon. I'm not coming out till 9.
Yeah, something's happened. I'm going to be late. So go get some water, do whatever. Yeah, something to set
expectations. If he wasn't coming out because he felt the crowd was too wild, they should have, I know the lady came out twice, but they should have cut on every light in that place, put a spotlight on her and said, this concert will not happen
if you're going to be
unless y'all chill out. They also should have had more, I say security, but employees monitoring that crowd. She could have made the comment, if we see you throw one thing, you're out of here.
Because the other thing would be, but just turning on the lights alone could have made, you just say that once and turn on the lights. And leave the lights on. And don't let them be getting hyped. Let them calm down.
Stop the hype music.
And you have the lights so everybody can see who's being a jerk. So then they can be like, if this concert doesn't start, we're going to turn on you or whatever.
But they kept for an hour. They kept the music going. Yeah. They kept the lights going. They had no one monitoring the crowd. I blame the Ritz.
Yeah.
The Ritz was at fault. They do not know how to handle a concert.
Yeah.
We
won't go to a concert there.
The second person I blame is OsamaSon's management.
Right.
They should have at least attempted to start the concert on time.
Right.
The crowd was not wild at 8 o'clock.
Right. But
they were wild at 9 o'clock.
Worse, it sounds like. Yeah.
At 8 o'clock, if you're his management, you get him on that stage and you go perform.
Yeah.
Heck, every track he was doing, he was just making noises to anyway. He wasn't out there really performing.
He wasn't like an opera singer, really having to make sure his voice was hitting the right note.
His management should have been get out there and perform.
Yeah.
So we can get out of this place if they felt he was so unruly. The third person is OsamaSon.
Yeah.
he's up there acting a fool, right? Which is fine. That's his thing.
Yeah.
Literally, the name of this tour is Psychotic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was a psychotic, chaotic experience.
Yeah.
He, as a performer, he's who everybody paid to see. He had no opening acts. None. 1,400 people paid to see him.
Yeah.
Instead of yelling profanities at these kids, how about you stop the concert
And turn on the lights?
and say, I'm going to leave if y'all don't chill out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to perform for you guys.
Yep.
But I don't have to stay.
Yeah.
And that would have solved everything. But instead, he kept inciting them by yelling at them, yelling profanities at them.
It's kind of like as a parent when you get into an argument with your teenager or your toddler, and your anxiety and your voice is going up, and then their anxiety and voice goes up, and then you match it, and then before you know it, you're both like, screaming and unregulated, dysregulated, and everything. Yeah.
So the Ritz, big fail.
Yeah.
OsamaSon's management, big fail. OsamaSon, big fail.
Right.
All three of them failed last night.
And I don't know how old he is, though. He may not have the emotional maturity yet to know how to manage that either.
He probably doesn't. I mean, he's just, they're propping him up there to make a profit.
Yeah.
He's going to be gone in 2 years and nobody's going to know this guy.
And that's why, though, his management, even once they started to see I would literally just turn on the lights and be like, he's taking a 5-minute break. You can chill out. If you want to see him, we'll bring him back out. Otherwise, you can go home.
Yeah. Now, and the kids will get blamed for this.
Yeah. Everybody will talk about what an awful crowd that was and how disrespectful. Yeah.
But they were gaslit.
Yeah.
These are probably some unruly kids.
Yeah.
But they were not unruly until there was breakdowns in security.
Yep.
And the way things were handled.
Yeah.
It was just, so I felt bad for the boys. Josh's friend, he said this was his first concert he ever been to.
Oh, it just breaks my heart. Oh. Yeah. Oh. And you're like, hey, I promise they're not all like this. Like, this isn't how they always work.
Yeah. Because Josh and I were comparing it to the pit at Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And we were in Missoula. I think it was Missoula's, Montana. A drunk guy came kind of barreling through the crowd, trying to get up to the very front. And Josh and I were like 5 or 6 people back from the stage. So we were very close.
Yeah. That
guy got up there, and those fans very calmly were like, you're getting back.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. And so they just waved security. Security came and drug his drunk butt out. That's
a difference in a relatively mature crowd is able to be like, hey, we don't have to match his energy with the same energy, and a venue that had security that would then be able to come in and intervene and take care of the problem.
Yeah. And also during the show last night, I was able to see up to the point of the stage. 3 separate times, kids, and 2 of them were girls, something happened, and the security guards had to reach over the railing and pick them up like a child and lift them over the railing and walk them out. Like, I guess they got crushed. They
probably got crushed or dehydrated or anything. Yeah, because they're too, at the front. I could see that. Yeah. It just doesn't. That's why when our kids are like wanting to do something like this, I'm like, I don't know. You don't know how you feel about it. But yeah.
So that was I had my bad week in a night. But it was an experience. I mean, it was something that I'll never forget. And it's a story I'll always be able to tell.
Yeah.
And I had said, the other week when I revealed my Big 12 for this coming year, going to see a concert with a headliner I'd never seen before was on there. I did not think it would be OsamaSon.
Yeah.
And even last night, Josh was like, well, you can mark this off your list. And I'm like, I don't think I want to. I didn't see him enough.
A 45-minute concert cut short,
it feels incomplete. It's like, it was a spectacle. It was not a concert. It was a spectacle that we saw last night.
Well, yay for Josh, because he'll probably be the one that figures out how to take you to somebody you haven't seen before. So he'll get another chance.
Yeah.
That's probably what that means.
Yeah, I'll try to figure it out. But that was my night. So
it's so interesting. You at the end of this, though, because of some things that are going on with me, I'm like, I would have never thought that this story would transition into one of the things I've been working on and thinking about. But because we never plan any of this, but terms you were using, the things you were talking about, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could, this is like very similar to, because what I've been dealing with some, I teach a class at one of my classes I teach at Wake is like employment law. And so, a lot of it is about like, not just the laws around employment law, but particularly when you start to do performance management or annual performance reviews and stuff, it's like about the work environment, about the people, about managing the people. And then I was asked to like put together a talk about some workplace related things and about like difficult conversations and stuff. So in doing some of my research, I've been looking, and as a person who's worked a long time and seen a lot of stuff, I've been looking at like kind of these toxic workplace environments, and like it started to make me think about like, what do I feel like after all these years of advising HR and managers, what do I feel like workplaces do well and versus what do they not, and there's a whole long list, but you talked about gaslighting and some things like that. And I think one of the things that workplaces really do a poor job at is like toxic work environments, because we have so many times I've had somebody come to me and they're like, well, we have this person and, they gossip all the time, or they're passive aggressive, or they're aggressive, and no one will manage them. And then you just watch so many good employees just check out or leave. And the workplace allows this one or two super toxic people to just poison.
Well, that's exactly what I told the boys last night.
Exactly.
I said,
that's why it's so
1,400 people allowed probably
100 or I don't know.
I was going to say 50.
Yeah.
50 people to ruin a night for 1,400 people that were there just to have a good time. Right. Enjoy some music they like and go home.
Yes. That is one of the things that to me is so sad because like in this scenario, you've got all these kids, they paid money, they're excited, some are good kids that get a little sucked into the chaos. Some are good kids like Josh and them that were probably just standing there and never did anything, but they all end up having.
Well, Josh's friend got hit in the back of the head with an empty Fireball bottle.
What?
Those little tiny
Yes.
Yeah, he got hit in the back of the head with one of those. People were throwing those last night.
Oh my gosh, it's just nuts. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And again, because, no one is asserting any sort, just like we talked about too, like in this concert. If you would have had a few people just coming in with a little bit of like, let's de-escalate, let's calm this down, let's manage this, I think it could have been a different thing,
And I will say, Josh's friend is that big dude.
Yeah.
Like him and Josh are the same age, but he's a full-grown man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big guy.
Yeah. It's not like he looks like a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And riding home, we were talking about it as we were leaving. I was like, yeah, man, I said, I didn't have your number, but I almost texted you and was like, protect Josh with your life. And he was like,
cover him with your body.
He said, oh, I was. He was like, there was people trying to mosh into us, and I just kept knocking them away so they wouldn't hit Josh. Because Josh is just a normal-sized guy.
He's not like super tall.
5'8", 150 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And
this guy was Josh's offensive line.
Yes.
he was protecting him. I love it. But I think that's the thing that in the workplace, taking that analogy there too, like that's what our managers and really HR would be trying to advise your managers to do. You've got to be like the offensive line. You've got to be there in front of the people that report to you. But what I think I see instead is, I don't know if managers are afraid of these toxic employees or if they are clueless, because a lot of times these toxic employees are very good at managing up, they are sweet as can be. They're just hardworking, wonderful people to the people they report to, but they are terrible to the people that report to them. So maybe it's people that are so detached from what's really happening. But also sometimes I just see people, instead of like going in and, like you said, taking a firm hand, just being like, you're either going to follow these rules or we're going to do X, Y, Z, and just having like consequences. I feel like in the workplace, everybody, they make these dysfunctional systems to dance around the toxic people.
Yeah. How many people in corporate world get promoted up to get them out?
Yes. Or they like also, like people will say you're promoted to your highest level of incompetence, or like I said, I think some of these people, they're so good at being manipulative, at like, playing the game, and the thing is, the other thing that happens though is once you have one or two employees that may complain about that person, that's where it's easy for, I think, management to dismiss it as like, oh, well, that's just one or two sour grapes, or there can't be anything to that. But sometimes I've actually seen it where it's the emperor has no clothes. Like we all sit around and we're like, that department is a hot mess. And we know the problem is that leader. But because somehow the department keeps functioning, the department keeps delivering the work product, upper management and everybody just lets it keep happening. And eventually, though, what makes me so sad about it is that's either when I think the quiet quitting starts to happen, like the employees who can leave. And when I mean leave, they either leave the department and the manager, or they leave the organization. The employees who can't, they just start to have to check out, And so I started looking up some stuff. I was like, what are all these like difficult people? And because I was doing research, because one of the things I work on too when I'm putting together some of my presentations is to actually, being able to point back to statistics, because I've seen a lot in my career, but, you've also got to look more globally. And if you start to look up like toxic workplaces or passive aggressive, narcissistic, whatever, different leaders or coworkers, there's thousands upon thousands of articles written by everybody from coaches to psychologists with all these tips about like, how do you survive when you're in this environment? And they talk about like, two of the big ones that it feels like to me, and this is just my opinion, this is no one else saying this is the most dangerous, but like there's all sorts of bad, leaders or coworkers or what have you, but we'll focus on the leaders right now, like because they're the ones setting the tone for the department. Yeah. They're the ones kind of, just like you said, in your scenario, security would be the one sort of setting the tone, or the people who work there. They are like your supervisor in that context. And all these other people are the teammate employees. You can have just, I'm a poor leader, I don't know what I'm doing. You can have a timid, indecisive leader. Well, those things aren't great, but I think personally, two of the most dangerous types are either like the passive aggressive and or sort of that narcissistic personality. And I'm not talking clinically diagnosed as narcissistic, but showing those narcissistic characteristics. And the reason I think they're so dangerous is because some of their techniques, one is gaslighting, like you said. And it's like, well, what is gaslighting? Well, you'll know someone's gaslighting you if you go back and you're like, I think ABC happened, but they said XYZ happened. Maybe I'm crazy. You start to question your sanity or your version of what happened. That's because these people are so good at like kind of twisting the facts. Like, well, that's not what happened. And you're like, but I remember that's what happened. It makes you start to wonder. I think that's dangerous because it starts to undermine your own confidence in yourself. You start to, just feel bad. I think a lot of times too, these really dangerous types, they micromanage like everything. And in their micromanagement, they become the people that the goalpost is always moving. And so like an example I thought of, because if you give examples in certain contexts, no one does these jobs. They can't understand it. But like one example I was trying to give some of my students, it's like we have a family, we have the dogs, we have the family pets. So let's say my 16-year-old who doesn't have a job, I'm like, all right, I need you, Maria, to go buy dog food and feed the dog. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, well, can you give me some cash or the credit card to go buy the dog food? And I'm like, oh, I'll get to that later. Or I just go silent and I don't talk to her for 3 days and I just ignore her request for the credit card. But then I come home one day and I blow up in front of the entire family. And I'm like, Jacob, Josh, you're all sitting here. Maria, I told you to buy dog food and feed the dog. Why did you not feed the dog?
Sounds like this really happened.
No, I mean, but
no, it didn't. It didn't happen.
It didn't. But then she would be like, well, how am I going to feed the dog? We don't have any dog food and you didn't give me the card. And I would be like, oh, I told you where the cash was laying on the counter or something, for example. And she'd be like, I don't remember you ever telling me that there was cash on the counter for me to pick up. And I'd be like, well, then I'm sorry you're misremembering it. They make you doubt your version of reality and then can sometimes shame you, but maybe too, not even aggressively, because there's also like these people that are really covert about it. And that's where the passive aggressive comes in, the like, kind of like in the South where we're like, oh, look, she ran a race. Bless her heart. She was really slow. Like you say it and you couch it in this way that it's like a back-veiled, like, I don't know, insult or something. So I just feel like those are hard because that's the other thing with when people become passive aggressive with you, just like in that whole gaslighting where you don't even know what's reality. When they're passive aggressive, if people are really skilled at that, it's so difficult to take that as a complaint, because like if you have a boss that like screams at you and throws things at you, kind of like the crowd was in this concert, anyone can look at that and be like, oh, that's a bad environment. We don't expect someone to stand up there and have bottles thrown at him. But if you have somebody that's like, death by 1,000 cuts, that's like saying things that you're like, wait a minute, was that an insult? Because I think that might have been an insult, but I'm not clear. That's really hard because it's such a subtle little way for things to build up. And so it makes you feel like you can't point to anything. Like if you want to complain about the person, there's nothing to point to. And then I think these folks too, sometimes they pit the employees against each other. So like in your scenario before, if you would have had, it's funny you talked about those referees, but if you had certain, employees that are always the favorites, that feed you information or that you always talk about like, oh, Michael is always just so wonderful. He's so smart. That is causing everyone to resent Michael, but also, it's just this dynamic.
And I would think this is not only in corporate America. This extends, we've seen it to families.
Yes. Like where you have one child that's the golden child. Yes. And so,
or the parents that, rage bait their spouse or their kids or gaslight them, pour on the passive aggressive heaviness. Like, what we do in the workplace is just what we learn to do at home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's so interesting too, because like people always talk about how important collaboration and teamwork is. But if you've set up a dynamic, like let's say in our family, we have 3 kids and let's say we've decided Jacob's the favorite and we're going to be passive aggressive to Maria. And we're just going to always, talk trash about Josh in front of other people. What is going to make Jacob, Maria, and Joshua want to work together in that situation? Because they're going to resent Jacob for being the favorite. Like, oh, it must be nice to never do anything wrong. Jacob's going to feel either he's going to have allegiance to the leader and be, because he's just glad that he's not in the spotlight in a negative way, or he's going to not be able, even if he tries, to form relationships with the teammates. So it makes it impossible, I feel like, for a team to work really well together. And then I think too, sometimes these are also the folks that, they're very inconsistent. So one day you come in and they're telling people like, Mike is just such a hard worker. Look at this great project he did. And then the next day you're in front of everybody and they're like, well, Michael, you must not care very much about your job because I asked you to do this and you didn't do it. And so you're constantly like, am I terrible or am I good? Where do I stand on this? So that negative criticism
you're always walking on eggshells because you know what boss you're going to get.
Yes. And then I think another thing that they do that can be so dangerous is they have these expectations, like I said, like about like you're going to feed the dog and maybe, but they haven't conveyed them to you. So you go get the dog food that's sitting there and you feed the dog, but they never told you that you're supposed to get this special dietary dog food that's kept in the refrigerator, and then they come to you like, why didn't you do that? But they've given you either inconsistent or, incomplete direction, but then they're criticizing you or giving you a bad review for not doing, I guess, what they were supposed to read your mind and know that you wanted. So to me, these are all just like super hard, like ways to function. But the one I was looking also at ways like, what do you do about that?
Yeah, because that's what I want to say. Like if you have a parent, a spouse, a coworker, a friend that, whether they're passive aggressive or narcissistic, they fall into the gaslighting, the rage baiting.
Yeah.
How do you defend that?
Well,
because I always say you can't argue with crazy.
And so here's my problem. Because, and this is where I think, and this is the really crazy thing about all of this, most of the time, if you become the focus of these people, it's actually probably a backhanded compliment to you because they tend to like people that they can manipulate, that they can control, that kind of thing. But they don't like people that they might view as a threat, that they're a little jealous of. They don't like people that may see through some of their incompetencies. They don't like people maybe that are strong and confident. And so that makes you more of a target. So as crazy as this sounds, it can actually be a good thing if you're the target. But for somebody like me, every instinct is like, well, if you're going to be passive aggressive, I can be passive aggressive back or aggressive back. Or, you may be like, I'm just going to sit down and we're going to have an adult conversation. Like you said, I am going to try to use logic to convince someone who is not logical at all and who's going to come back at me and twist around my logic against me. So the hardest thing, and one of the things that I've seen multiple coaches, psychologists, everybody say that you do, and this is primarily for narcissistic type traits, but even with the other things, almost every time they're like, you try to just be a gray rock. And what that means is you are as bland and you don't react because these people feed off of your reactions. They feed off the chaos. They feed off you crying or getting angry. And in the end, what's so hard about it is they're baiting you. And everybody may know you have the right to get angry, but when you get angry and yell back, that's only going to be something that's going to work against you later. And so, most things
it's no different than a toddler. When a toddler's throwing a tantrum, if you ignore them, they just kind of move on to something else because they're not going to be able to get your attention.
Yes.
Or in the case of you and I, the times when I keep poking you and pushing your buttons.
Yes.
Now, you've never become a gray rock yet in 27 years.
Yes.
So you always fly off the handle, which gives me great joy. But if you were a gray rock, I would probably stop doing that.
Well, this is two things that are interesting that you say that. So one is, if I start trying to be the gray rock with you right now, you're going to know that this is so different. And it's going to make you kind of like up the ante. You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to just keep poking her because I know she's typically reactive, right? So one of the keys to this gray rock approach is consistency. So even though it goes against everything in you, it's like, and it doesn't mean you don't, because if you're in the workplace, you can't just sit there and never talk. I'm not saying that, but it's more like, I feel like I have a very expressive face. So if my camera's on and somebody's saying something crazy, like my eyebrows are going up or I'm like, or I'm looking like, but it's like about trying to just control your expression. If you say something, for me to respond back in a short, very factual way, but, not angry, not sad, just repeat back the facts. And then to try to just be, again, as I guess non-reactive, to just not react as much as possible. So you still got to interact. You still got to be part of the workforce, but you have to almost like just put on this protective, bubble suit or whatever before you go into that, and just be like, all right, I am protected by my bubble. They can't penetrate me. I'm going to not react. That, I think, from what I've read, those things tend to be some of the most important things. Now, people will also talk about things, but I'm not going to get into all this on the podcast. Like, okay, well, write down everything, like so that you can keep a record of what's happened and stuff to protect yourself. People can read about that, but I'm just talking about like interpersonal interactions, when you're dealing with somebody that's like that. And is it going to work every time? No. Are you always going to be able to be the gray rock? No. The other thing they talk about too, though, you have to set boundaries and stick to them. Like, you cannot let them run over you and start like texting you at 7 p.m. and you start responding. If you're like, I'm putting in, my work time, but, on Fridays at 6, I don't respond anymore after that. Stick to it. You set your boundaries, you're firm about it in a respectful way. Those are the things you can do. Now, the problem is, though, none of that is easy. And for some of us, like me, who typically are very expressive or want to get in there and like, this isn't fair, this isn't right, it takes a tremendous amount of energy to do that. And I think that's the other hard thing, is it takes so much energy for the person to try to do this. So other things I've read, this may not be a long-term strategy. This is a survival strategy that you use until you can get another job or get somebody to address the issue.
Or get another spouse and get another family.
Exactly.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, until you can just move on and start over, But I just thought it was interesting because when I was doing this research, I was like, the gray rock? What is the gray rock? I'd never heard of it, but it really makes sense because it does go back. If you read about a lot of conditions that we have, everything goes back to like things that happen to people in childhood and how we all get stuck sort of in certain stages of development. Some people are stuck more in infancy, some in the toddler. I'm not saying this is the toddler age.
I mean, they talk about inside every adult is a wounded 10-year-old child.
Yes, exactly. Or 3-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
And depending on where you were wounded, a toddler may be acting out for attention. And if they eventually, like you said, if you ignore it long enough, not saying they'll go away, but what you can also hope is they may.
Thankful I don't have any wounds then?
Oh,
you
gosh.
just have the perfect husband.
Yes, it's such a blessing.
I mean, who got up this morning and made you breakfast?
Yes, you did.
Who got up and made you 2 cups of coffee?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Did you ask me for any of that?
I did not. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But this is also probably a good psychological warfare or something you're using against me, where you're being inconsistent, because you're using this, but later you're going to come and you're going to keep poking me. You're going to poke the sleeping bear, and I'm going to be like, which version of Mike am I getting?
You're going to be like, I can't yell at him because he made me an omelet.
Exactly.
Yes.
He did this nice thing that I owe him.
That's what it is all about.
Yes, exactly.
That's been the crux of my ministry.
Yes.
Be nice to people so they owe me.
Well, the last thing I'll say.
I've got a lot to cash in.
The other thing I was going to tell you that I thought about during this, and this is the last thing, and I won't spend much time on this, but like that happens in the workplace, is we spend so much time on everything that's wrong with people instead of like looking at what's right and how people are kind of built different and made different and have different strengths and different interests. And that was something years ago I took like a Clifton Strengths Finders test, and I think there's like 34 different strengths. And my top ones were like woo, communication, positivity, includer. People are like, what's woo? Woo is like where you truly enjoy like meeting new people. Like, let's see, it's like you're usually talkative, friendly in the presence of newcomers. You delight in pulling outsiders and strangers into group discussions. You use a lot of mental, physical, emotional energy, earning the affection of people you meet. You love starting discussions and learning from newcomers. They usually feel comfortable with you instinctively. You're open and talkative. You put people at ease. So that's what woo is. And then communication, I think, is pretty clear. You communicate, and strategic is when you use a lot of strategy in how you lead. Positivity was an interesting thing on mine because it doesn't mean that you see the world with rose-colored glasses. It's more that you see the potential for positivity.
I need to take this test. This is one of them I haven't taken.
Yeah. It's like, and so for positivity, hold it, I was looking at that one. It's like you repeatedly go out of your way to support, inspire, motivate, and embolden people. So it's not like I said, it's not that I'm like, oh, the world is rainbows and unicorns, but it's more like I'm going to go out of my way to inspire people. I want to motivate people. I want them to be passionate. You feel better about life when you're training, tutoring, instructing an individual or a group. You're happier about life when your work lets you leave the world in a better condition than you found it. You enjoy doing things no one's ever considered. You have infectious energy and enthusiasm. That would be a includer. You intentionally go out of your way to include people. You're sensitive to people who may feel left out. You like to be in the company of people that ponder, reflect, consider, muse, have conversations about philosophy. So what's so cool about this test is that's like my top 5. But instead of focusing, I feel like our tendency is to immediately go to this and say, wait a minute, what's my bottom 5? Well, my bottom 5 are things like consistency, deliberative, harmony, things like that.
Oh, I could have taken that test and told you those bottom 5.
So instead of focusing on those though, and they even, when you get your results, it almost looks like a DNA strand or something because they also, certain ones of these are, you have different leadership styles. And my top 2, woo and communication, are influencer type. That means when you're leading or in a group, you tend to lead through influencing. Some people... You
should be in politics.
Oh, probably.
You should be a president.
Yeah. Oh, get right. Yeah. Some people lead through relationship building. Some lead through strategic thinking. Some lead through executing. So it kind of just and most of the people, because there are 34 of these, this is how I think it is kind of like a DNA strand. You have all these different pieces. And I'm all for that.
I think I would be the executing.
You think?
Yeah. Last night I would have pulled one of those kids up on the stage throwing stuff, executed him right there, and everybody else would have just fell in line. Is that what you mean?
No, that is not at all what I mean.
Oh.
But I think this is interesting because it just shows how we all can. Most people aren't going to have the exact same order of 34. Most people won't even have the exact same top 5, And so the reason this, I think, flows back, I would say, to the workplace, to volunteer organizations like our nonprofit or the church, is I think we focus so much on the problematic behavior of people, or we are so focused on dancing around the problematic person that's causing all the problems that we forget to try to play to people's strengths.
Well, and as you're sitting here talking this morning, I've been thinking about how much I've evolved as a leader in ministry. Mm-hmm. And I think for at least the first half of my ministry life, I focused on those that were unhappy.
Yep.
That, how can I make these people happy? How can I help them be better?
I'm going to use 90% of my energy on the 10% of the unhappy people.
Of the knuckleheads, as I call them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the last 15 years, 14, 15 years, 12 years, I think I've flipped the script. The people who have locked in on goodness and what they can offer God and the world, that's who I'm leaning into.
Right.
And the people who are just the problem child, the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
The squeaky wheel doesn't get the oil at Ritz.
Right. Yeah.
The squeaky wheel gets replaced.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that anymore.
Right.
Go somewhere else to be coddled or to throw your tantrum. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen here.
Because how many times, too, did we have a few of those toxic people that then all they did was cause division and uncertainty and unrest and things.
They ran off good people.
They did.
And then in the end, they ended up leaving anyway.
Right.
Because you can never make them happy.
You can't make them happy.
Mm-mm. No.
And the other thing I will say about all this, too, that I think we've learned at Re3 in leading there, because this, was talking about families, workplace, all those things. But the other thing is, it's kind of like, again, this comes back to like your kids. This can play out anywhere. But like, as you start to learn about people's strengths, you're going to start to think about like, how do I help them use those strengths? And so like for me, for example, in the workplace, I love variety. I love kind of the adrenaline and excitement sometimes of even a stressful situation. If you want to like crush my soul, tell me that I have to come in and do the exact same thing every day or whatever. Now, that's me. So what that probably means is I'm well suited for jobs that sometimes may have high pressure, like you got to drop everything and respond to it. So for example, if we were in the medical world, like an ER doctor, I'm the one that's like, bring me on the crisis, but I have coworkers, they look at what I do and they are like, is this what you do every day? Because if I had to do this every day, I would quit. This is stressful, or it's weird, or I don't like it. I have coworkers who love to have the to-do list, to have the certainty of this is what I'm going to be working on every day. I am going to methodically and deliberatively sit down and do X, Y, Z with excellence. It's not that one is better than the other, because if you try to put
You need both.
Yes, exactly. And that's where I think other people also fail, because if we tend to be, we might like other people that are more like us. And it's easy to like discount the people that aren't. And I think a great example of that in the church is like you and Kim, because Kim is our financial person. She keeps our budget. You are like the visionary. You're out there seeing the potential. Let's have faith in God. God's going to deliver. Kim's like, I am looking line item by line item, and we need an extra $5 to cover this in the budget. But you two together, instead of just getting fed up and hating each other and talking about each other, and Kim's not like, why isn't he more like me? And you're not like, why isn't she more like me? You two balance each other out. She is bringing, you recognize that sometimes you've got to lean a little more towards Kim. It's not that she doesn't have faith. She's just looking at things with a different set of strengths and a different lens. And so you've got to like be a little more methodical and like our financial approach. But then there have been other times when Kim's had to lean a little more towards you, where it's like, this is going to work out. This is the right thing to do. We need to give this money. We need to do this. Even if it's a risk, it's going to be okay. And so you two balance each other. I think that's the other thing we do so poorly in the workplace. We try to make Kim's Mike's and try to make Mike's act like Kim. Like we put people in jobs that have nothing to do with their strengths. Like I say all the time, like for example, in a hospital system, if you're like a nurse, for example, you're not necessarily getting promoted to be a supervisor and a leader because you have great people skills. You're a great nurse. You're exhibiting. And so we want to promote you to reward the fact that you're a great nurse. But that doesn't mean that you want to or are skilled at leading people.
Yeah, it's like Jim Collins wrote the book years ago, From Good to Great.
Yes.
How does somebody take an organization from good to great? And his whole thing uses the bus analogy, and he says it's about getting people on the right seats on the bus.
Yeah.
Like we've just filled the bus.
Yeah.
And your corporation is good, but to make it great, you got to make sure that you're catering to their strengths.
Right.
And
that's going to make, and you cater to their strengths, and you help educate each other about sometimes if somebody's different from you, they're just looking at a problem from a different way. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean, because I used to also work with some people and I was like, why are they always trying to crush my dreams? Because I would be this visionary brainstormer and they're immediately telling me the 30,000 reasons that this won't work. Now I just realize they're not trying to crush my dreams. I'm just the brainstormer visionary, and they're the people that bring me back down to earth. And we need to meet in the middle because we still need me to brainstorm and vision. That's how we're going to get good ideas. But I need those people to sometimes say, yeah, that's a great idea, but it costs too much, or this is why it won't work, so that we can meet in the middle. And I think if companies, families, everybody could do more of that, we would have so much more harmony in the workplace, in our nonprofits, with our volunteers, But I think part of it is that we've learned the hard way through lots of mistakes,
and maybe one day OsamaSon will learn this.
Yes, exactly.
It all comes full circle.
And he will be up there and he will be like, we are going to turn on the lights and I'm going to calmly talk to you. And if you don't behave like adults and stop throwing things, then this concert will end.
Yeah. Or I'll just execute.
Well...
One or the other. Real quick, I know we've gone way over time. And,
I don't even know how much we have, but okay, sorry.
Well, I mean, this one is the longer one. I mean, Sam Hinton's not going to listen.
Oh, he's going to put it on his spreadsheet.
I mean, we're at an hour 19 right
now.
now.
My gosh. Oh, dear. Okay, you're right. Sam's like, this should have been 2 podcasts. Yeah.
That's all right. We got a 40-minute lesson and corporate...
corporate America.
Yeah.
Maybe people can just fast forward through that. But I feel like the concert part's important to the whole analogy.
Both good. Yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah.
Real quick, I told you I was going to say about Mr. Worldwide. We have now hit our 46th country that we have listeners in. So we have listeners in 46 countries. Number 46 came in this week, the country of Bosnia.
Ooh.
The only thing I always think of Bosnia, I just hear war-torn Bosnia.
Yeah.
So I'm just imagining some poor guy just sitting there, bombs going off, and he's listening to us, trying to find a little joy in his life.
And I hope we're bringing joy, but I don't know. Anyway.
The other thing I thought was interesting, occasionally I like to look and see where our listeners coming from. We're in 46 countries. What's repeated, what's not kind of thing. Number 1, the U.S. I mean, that is what it is. Number 2, Singapore right now.
Not sure how that works, but would love to know.
Yeah.
And that's actually a country never visited, don't know a lot about Singapore. Probably need to do some research so I can better appeal to our Singapore audience.
I know. So Singapore is number 2. Canada's number 3.
A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Or a boat. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Canadians. We love you.
Number 4 is Great Britain.
Ooh, yes.
Or the UK.
I did reference them with my beans and eggs and my
That's probably going to increase it.
Black pudding and stuff.
Canada better watch out. UK may bump ahead of them.
Because they're going to know that I'm talking about their breakfast foods.
And 5th is Japan.
Wow. Which is a country that all of our family, especially Josh and Maria, talk about all the time wanting to visit.
I wouldn't say all of us. I mean, I don't see Jacob and I.
Yeah, I'm like 2/5 of our family. But anyway, because I think just fascinated by so much in Japanese culture and would love to visit.
I love some Japanese food.
Yeah.
And I like the Japanese culture. I just don't think I could handle the plane flight.
It's such a long flight. I know. It's so long for us.
And number 6, as honorable mention, is Australia.
With their koala bears and kangaroos and
that's very stereotyping. And
can I say
72
one thing?
Most deadly animals.
Well, but you know what? It doesn't matter. There's also, what is her name? Harper, I think is her last. I've read a lot of fiction books by an Australian writer, and they are so fascinating because you're learning about things in the context of like the outback and kind of the harsh environment and stuff. So anyway.
I learned that watching Crocodile Dundee. Or the Crocodile Hunter.
I would love to visit Australia too.
So there you go. So we have.
And if any of these countries want to bring us
that's
there.
That's what I'm saying. I was about to say that. If our Singapore fans want to make a way for us, our Japan fans, Australian fans.
We'll talk about whatever you want. You can show us all your cool stuff or whatever, and we'll talk about it. Yeah. We'll interview you. Yeah.
And then they also have on the platform that we use to kind of put our podcast out there. Not only does it have the individual countries, it obviously has continents broke down too. And we actually have more listeners in Asia than we do Europe.
Wow. Now, what about Antarctica? How many penguins are down there listening?
None yet. I mean, come on, Beth. Do we really need to get into that?
The ice wall and the flat earth.
I'm not even sure Antarctica exists.
Okay, we won't go there, but yes, everyone, for your pleasure, in addition to Googling the gray rock technique, you can Google the ice wall and flat earth.
I think one day I will just do a podcast on my own, and I'll say Beth does not endorse this podcast. And I will just go through a list of conspiracies. And I'm not saying they're for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's possible.
Uh-huh. So, just like it's possible that there is a unicorn somewhere in the forest.
It could be.
Yeah.
I saw one when I was a little kid at Ringley Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
That's true. Do you know what? Just as an aside, I remember getting so excited when they advertised this. This is before you had AI, before you had the internet. And as a little kid, I was like, how can they have a unicorn? Is it a real unicorn? It's probably not a real unicorn, but could it be? Because they're advertising it. And then I showed up, and wasn't it basically like a goat with its horn?
Yeah, it was like a goat with one horn.
Yeah, and so it was highly disappointing because that was not at all what it wasn't. White with rainbow tail, and it wasn't, like beautiful with the.
I mean, in definition, it was a unicorn.
Right.
Una being one,
right?
And the kind of the horn.
Yeah,
there,
but I felt very tricked and manipulated.
You should have been.
Yeah.
So we had. I wanted to give that real quick, and then I also got a really nice email I wanted to read.
Oh.
We talked about Mike last week, who called us the Seinfeld of podcasting.
Oh, yes. Which now you're the pit bull of podcasting.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, and he did say in here, he said, the use of the Seinfeld of podcast requires a royalty to me each time you mention it. So we're going to go with podcasts of the pit bull of podcasting then.
Well, no, but I would just like to point out that
as
considering
lawyer,
this is a money pit and we are probably losing money on it as opposed to making it, he can take part in our, quote, royalties, which would mean maybe he owes us money.
Maybe he does owe us money. Every time we say it, he has to write us a check.
He has to pay us, yes.
But but he did. He wrote a nice email to the show and to me, and he said this. He said, in the land of heavy podcasts that are divisive or featuring so-called experts self-promoting, yours is a breath of fresh air. A podcast that exists to just talk about life, to have fun with no agenda or script. In other words, nothing. Entertaining and enjoyable, and sometimes something.
I love it.
That's really good.
It just makes me laugh because I'm like, we definitely do not pretend to be experts in anything. And maybe that's one reason we're not making money, because if we were experts doing our top 10 ways to be happy and make $1 million.
I think we can cut out that 40-minute corporate thing and probably just send that out and sell that to companies.
With all of my expertise, because, I'm going to cite no articles, nothing. That's
You're
legit.
An attorney, an employment attorney.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for a long time.
Oh, no. And I'm joking. I'm not saying
You're
that I
an
don't
expert.
have, quote, expertise in things, but I also appreciate what he's saying, because I'm so weary of the people who are like, I tried to, I wrote a book, or I started a company. Now I'm going, for $20,000, I will sell you, my formula or whatever. I'm just so tired. Or like, if you only did these 4 things, you would never have anything bad that happened to you, and you would lose your 20 pounds and would reach all your goals.
I won't name names, but I found it humorous this week. There was somebody that was doing an interview, a famous person, and in their interview, she was talking about how people kind of look down on her. Mm-hmm. And she said, I'm really smart. I wrote a book. And I was like,
can I do that?
I was like, I think I can say the same thing then. That's going to be my argument from here on out.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to be like, let me tell you how smart I am. I have a podcast. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a genius by that standard. Then if you're working on your second book, that really catapults you to greatness on the genius scale. Yeah. Last thing, speaking of books, my party, a book launch is tomorrow. So we'll talk about that next time. But there's still time before Advent to get the book. I can also tell you, in case anyone's wondering if I'm getting rich off of this, again, I probably will lose money this book. But it's just, again, it's a neat thing. And I think
you're giving away a copy to every lady that shows up to the book launch.
Yeah, so that
that's not a way to have a book launch.
Yeah, that hurts the whole thing of like this whole concept of like making money on it. But I did have somebody text me too that said, I want you to know you're super special. I'm doing a women's small group at my house with your Advent book. It's been a long time since I've led a group. Maybe you can come be a special guest and sign their copies.
Oh, nice.
But I just thought that was sweet too. And I think in the end, for both of us, all joking aside, the podcast, the books, we didn't do any of this because we thought we would, be able to quit our day jobs and do this. But that's what makes me, that's what gives some meaning and gives me some hope and excitement about things. It's just being like, oh, this is impacting somebody, or people are enjoying it, or people are learning from it, or people are, at least as our friend Mike said, maybe able to just get away from some of the bleh of everyday life. And
well, they've got an hour and a half to get away this week.
Yeah.
They're going to have to eat it like they eat an elephant, bite by bite.
We won't do this in the future, we promise.
Now, the one I did by myself was 34 minutes.
See, okay, so we're implying then that I added an hour of content. Sorry, folks. Sorry, Sam Hinton.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining. I'm glad we redid the podcast. This was good.
It was fun.
It was fun.
I learned something too. Yes.
And I am going to send this copy of this podcast to the people who run the Ritz. I'm sending it to OsamaSon. I'm sending it to his management.
Ooh.
And I'm being like, you have Mr. Worldwide. You had Mr. Worldwide, a podcast, in attendance last night.
Yes.
And here's how you failed.
Yes.
And I'm going to send it to him.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll see how they respond. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next week, this is Mike.
And Beth.
Hey, are you still there?